Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're doing a house call, going up to visit one of my longtime buddies. He has a 2006 350Z, and it's having a rather common problem from what I understand is that the camshaft angle sensor is not working. We actually worked on it a little while ago, before the holidays. We left town for a while. We fixed half the problem, and part of it we had to use the driver's side sensor on the passenger side of the car. So one of the reasons I want to make this video is because we had some confusing information related to that. So hopefully if you're having this problem, you find this video helpful. And we just want to see my buddy, of course, and get his Z back up and running. So we're going to head over there now and we'll see what we can do. There she is, the sleeping demon. Oh, I missed this car.
Yeah, but look at the top of the oxidation.
Oh yeah, clear coat's coming off. It's okay though. You can just turn it into a drift car and paint it some wacky color. Yep. Disconnect the battery for safety. Safety first.
My middle name.
Always safety first. Buddy. It's got a charger. Well, it doesn't sound like it's a battery problem. It's cranking. It's cranking hard. What's the voltmeter saying there when you... Let's see.
12.
Yeah. What are you doing? You want to drive? I bet. Soon. In a few years, okay? Okay, crank it again. Yeah, there you go. Ooh, she needs a belt. Okay, and then we throw in codes again? Where's it at? Service engine soon?
Yep.
Okay. We'll crack after it. So it's been sitting for a long time, so we're going to plug the code reader in again to make sure we're still getting the same codes. It's still telling us camshaft sensor position A.
Is there another?
Jesus, sorry.
Can you swipe down?
Yeah, what else is on there?
101.
Okay, it's just a one?
Yeah.
Oh, Jacob, are you helping? You helping? Alright, so we're going to change the camshaft angle sensor in position A, which is the driver's side. Last time we had the code for both of them, and the reason that we ran into some troubles, my buddy got a kit to change both of them, and he had one of them, which was supposed to be the passenger side, which is a straight angled sensor like this, but when we took it off of the passenger side, we found one angled connector like this. So a bunch of videos, looked up everything, and everything said the passenger side is this one. So we put it in, we connected it, the pin wouldn't connect, and the code wouldn't clear. So finally we went back to the auto parts store, got another driver side one for 2006 Z, put it in, and that code cleared. So that's position B. Now we need to take care of position A, which is another one of these. So he got a kit real cheap. He got two of each of these in the kit for some reason. So that's pretty good value, because I think that what's going on is, depending on where your car was assembled, the wiring harness is slightly different, and it's going to accept one of these for the passenger side. But whatever you pull off when you're making the exchange, that's the type you need to get. So if you're going to do this, go ahead and pull them off first, then go to the auto parts store, and make sure you open the box and match up the way they look. They both perform the same function, it's just the clip that attaches to them. So let's get to work. So this is the sensor that came off of that driver's side. So this is the straight one. So since we pulled that off, that's what we're going to put on, because the pin connectors are different on the angled ones and the straight ones. So even though the manual says opposite, for whatever reason this wiring harness is switched. And this is a completely unmodified car, except for this intake. So anyway, we'll throw that on. If you're not going to take off any of the intake manifold parts, it is difficult because you have to do it by feel, but it's pretty simple. It's one 10mm bolt. You want to hand me that green ratchet there real quick while I'm down here and I've got my fingers on it? Thanks, buddy. All right.
Hold on, bud.
Ow.
Now.
Got it in, got it connected, got it tightened down. Also found another loose wire, which we don't know what that was. But let's give it a shot. Alright, so in a few minutes the code is back. Or at least a code is back.
Vehicle service manual P1084.
P1084. So it's a different code. So that's pretty good. Okay. We don't have to refer to the service manual, we can use our phones. I'll go pull it up. Okay. So we got that other code. It was crank angle sensor, exhaust valve timing, something other. It's 1084 Nissan. So there is actually a additional identical but angled clip of the same type of sensor. So I guess all three of these have basically failed at the same time. So luckily we have a kit with plenty of extras. So on that driver's side, there's one connected with the black clip and one connected with the green clip. And it seems like both those need to be changed at the same time if they're failing. So we'll go ahead and switch this out for a new one, see if we can clear that last code. Alright, so here's where we're at. We've changed all three of the sensors. Camshaft sensor on both sides and the crank angle sensor. A little bit frustrating because a lot of people online are saying they have this trouble. First we went through the problem where the passenger and driver side sensors were different on this car. Got that figured out. Then we changed the third sensor after we got that error code. And it keeps throwing the error code. So what we're thinking is perhaps the computer, when it resets and clears the code, isn't having time to learn because we're turning it off and turning it back on too quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the car home tonight, take it for a long drive. We're going to let it sit for now, but we're also getting two new codes. It's coming up with the VDC warning light and the slip warning light. Not exactly sure why. So we're going to do some reading, hang out, spend some time with Seth and the family, and hopefully we'll get some answers here and be able to make a coherent video and have it fixed at the end. So we're just hanging out here letting the car idle, and funny thing came up. We're talking about maybe my buddy doesn't need this car anymore since he's got the family, and it would make a lot of great content for the channel. It would make a really great drift missile. So we're talking about that, seeing it needs a lot of work. We're finding out that the fans aren't working. As it's sitting here, it's just creeping towards overheating. You drive around the block, it comes right back down, and the fan's barely moving. So we just tapped it and it started moving, but it's definitely dying. So I'm gonna figure out how much that's gonna cost and a couple other things to get it back up and running. But so far, so good, as far as waiting to see if and taking for a few test drives to see if it's gonna turn the lights back on. So far, no check engine light. I turned that off. Turn that back on. So oil pressure's fine, volts are fine. So unfortunately we can get it to the point where it will drive and run, but it's still throwing the same error codes, and it keeps bringing up a VDC and slip light. So we're not sure what to do, but I'm going to take it home, clear the code, drive it for a while, and see if we can tool around and fix it. And we'll see what's going on. So anyway, it's getting late in the evening here, so we're going to go ahead and shut it down for today and bring it home and see if we can figure something out back at the garage. Well, as I'm driving around, after I clear the code, it's behaving super well. Like, there's no problem. It's idling right. Everything's good. It's revving through the range. And it feels like it normally does. There's no hesitation, nothing. But the code keeps coming back if you shut down the car and restart it. It's not while you're driving it. So, I don't know. I'm getting a little bit stumped here, but we'll get on the freeway. Alright guys, we got the Z back here, or the 350Z, excuse me, back here at our garage. And I think I figured out what is still wrong and why we're still getting those codes. Bank A sensor is the passenger side area sensor, which we replaced, but as I said earlier, I replaced the bent angle sensor, which if you look down here, you guys see me touching that? Here. Right down here. Black connector. That's the one I replaced. I'm fairly sure of it. The green connector, which is here, connects to the straight one here, which is the other part of the problem. Now it came in the kit, and if you remember, I mentioned that we replaced the bent angled one, and everyone says on the passenger side it's straight. Well, I think I just found it. We were just replacing the wrong one before. Simple mistake, but when you get the kit with all 4 sensors, that's why it comes with 4. So if I replace this last one, I think it will fix the problem. So wish me luck. Okay. It was more complicated than I thought. Nope. It's getting pretty late. I'm going to take it for a test drive, see if it works. If it works, I'm going to get up in the morning and explain to you all what happened and why this is so confusing online. So many different write-ups. So, fingers crossed. Let's give it another shot. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, just got back from about 30 minutes of driving. Definitely fixed the issue that we've been having with the crank angle and camshaft angle sensors. I only put it in quotations because I don't know which of the sensors originally caused the problem, but I went through about 4 different sets of them, and I'll explain it to you why, so that hopefully you don't have to struggle like I did. So the kit that we got to fix the issue came with 3 sensors. This was the passenger side camshaft sensor with the green connector. This is the passenger and driver side crank angle sensor. This piece doesn't go anywhere on this car. No camshaft, no crank angle sensor. So when we went through and put all 3 in, this one, the clip didn't fit, then we couldn't get it in, so we ended up using 2 of these, which are the flat ones. So see the difference here. This one is perpendicular, where this one, the bracket is parallel. So that was the most confusing part of it. Now the second most confusing part was that a lot of the forums and the resources we were looking at kept saying that, let me get this right, circuit A position 1 or circuit 1 position A was the driver side. Well, it is if you're in Australia or Japan. But in the US, obviously, the wheel is on the other side of the car. So for USDM model 350Zs, position A, circuit 1, or position 1, circuit A, whichever one it is, it's the error code I mentioned earlier. That means passenger side. Although we did have to replace the driver side as well, and the driver side crank angle sensor. So anyway, I'm going to try and give this an edit and see if it makes sense, and I'll make sure to give you a nice summary at the end of what the heck went on, because it was frustrating and confusing. However, it's fixed, and I think we might end up with the Z at Mohr Garage. Alright, boys and girls, it's the next morning. I'm going to give you guys a summary of what the hell happened yesterday. So hopefully it can be helpful for anybody going through the same problem. Z's back here warming up. Oh, that's the speed. There's the Z. Alright, so get the camera on the tripod here. Okay. So let me look this up just so I can be correct. The error code that we were getting originally was P0340, camshaft position sensor malfunction, bank 1, position A, or single sensor. Ended up being needed both camshaft position sensors changed, but that's not the point, because that's the most common code that people are complaining about on the forums. Now the first thing that happened was that we were looking at forums from possibly New Zealand, where the driver's side is on the other side of the car, right? So position A in the US, position 1, excuse me, in the US for that code is the passenger side, that's for certain. Second thing we ran into were the different sensors. Different sensors, right? So we ended up just needing 2 of these sensors that have the parallel mounting bracket. They're the only ones that fit on the clip for both camshaft sensors. And for both crank angle sensors, which we also changed because they came in the kit, and after we changed the cam sensor, we also got that code, were these angled ones. Okay? We didn't put any of these in the camshaft position. We put these in the crank sensor position. Right? So there's 1 on each side. So 4 in total. 2 of these, 1 on each side, and 2 of the parallel ones. This perpendicular one, we never used, for whatever reason. Now, from what I've read online and the videos I've seen, it seems like different year cars, perhaps where they're manufactured, possibly differences in the wiring harness, you could end up with different sensors, different arrangement of those, or it could be general confusion. But my best suggestion is to simply take the sensors out, take them with you to the auto parts store, and ask them for driver's side, passenger side, etc., and find the sensor that visually matches the one you're trying to change. Check the clips, check the orientation of the mounting bracket, and make sure it is the same. Then if you match it up, you should be able to clear the P0340 error. Now, how will you know if your symptoms are related to that error? The symptoms are the car will stop and stall as you're driving, loss in power, loss in performance. Second thing is, check engine light will be on, and most likely you'll get your VDC light on and your slip light on. If that's happening, it can all be from just this one sensor or any of these 4 sensors on the back of the engine. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Now the sad part is, after fixing that, which it is fixed, we found other problems. So let's talk about that now. Just so you can see the proof, the check engine light, VDC, slip is all gone. The other problem we ran into though is that there seems to be a problem with 1 or more relays, possibly the main relay. If you do anything like turn on the rear defroster, even try and hit the hood latch, release on the trunk, it will just completely die. So I've been searching around, haven't found people with a similar problem. I'm unfortunately thinking it might be due to the amount of heat soak and possibly a bad main relay, which would be easy to fix and diagnose, but there also could be a short or a grounding out problem somewhere, and just the nature of being in an older vehicle and the tons of possibilities it could be, it might be difficult to run down, but unfortunately it might not be worth it at all. So once we got everything sorted out with the angle sensors and got all the codes to clear, we're driving and it was performing really well, felt pretty good. However, once we got it back in the garage and it was at operating temperature, we started to get a little bit of a noise. You can kind of hear it here. Kind of noisy and rattly. And then we started to discover I don't know if you can see that on camera too well, but you can definitely see that condensation on the bumper. There is steam coming out of the exhaust. So most people know what that means. Unfortunately, blown head gasket, or worse, could be a cracked head, cracked block. And if you remember, I did talk about this engine having, or excuse me, this car having earlier some problems with its fans not turning on. And my buddy said he had multiple problems. The first things he started to encounter when he was trying to sell it, probably a year or more ago, was that it kept overheating and he couldn't get it to stop. And I think during that time, unfortunately, some damage was done and it might not be worth it. So anyway, that's the sad end of this story. We'll check you guys back in the next one. Hopefully more to come. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. We're also on Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit. So please follow us there at Mohr Garage. We'll see you in the next one.